Welcome to my ethnography. My name is Harmony, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about the life of an artist, answering questions, and diving deeper into the community and what it takes to be a talented artist. I had a lot of questions to ask, and I found out a lot of answers. So let's go figure it out. This is one of my best friends, Noelle, and she's a painter. I'm going to ask her a little bit more about what it means to her to be an artist and how she got to the level that she's at today. Thanks, Noelle.
Interested in art?
I've always been interested in art, but I first got serious about art a couple of years ago. That's when I started dabbling in it.
And then once you were interested, what made you want to start creating your own art, going from looking at other people's art to being I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start painting?
I think that happened around sophomore year for me, which was a couple of years ago. And I was always looking at people's art and I wanted to be like that. I wanted to have that skill set. And then one day I just decided to try to paint a face, and then it wasn't good. And then I just tried it one more time and another time and another time. For me, art is therapeutic, and that's the purpose for me, and it's fulfilling to start something and then finish something. It's very satisfying.
Okay. Have you ever had times in your life where you wanted to quit painting in general and just give up?
I've definitely had phases where I feel really down about what I've created, and it's disheartening, and then I look at other people's work and I feel I wish I could do that. But then I always come back to it.
Next, I ask her the one big question. Did she think that art was something that you were naturally born with, or was artistic talent something that was learned? This was very important for me to find out.
For me, I wouldn't say I'm naturally artistic or naturally creative. It was definitely something I had to cultivate. And there's definitely people out there that are super creative by nature, but I had to cultivate mine.
So kind of going along with that, do you think that people that are artists, they have a special set of traits that can't be learned or acquired, something that you think that some people are actually born with?
I think everything is teachable, even creativity. Creativity is essentially just looking at how you can create something differently. And I think that can be taught. It's just like any instrument or trade. It's harder to learn art if you're not naturally good at it, but it's possible.
And did you find it difficult in the beginning to have to learn some of those techniques?
Yeah, but it was difficult in the beginning to learn those techniques. But watching videos and looking at other people's art, it doesn't take that long.
This was my first insight, answering my question of whether or not artists are born with the talents they have or their natural abilities can be learned and acquired. As a person who would consider themselves somewhat artistic and creative, but not in a traditional artistic sense, I thought it was crazy to hear that someone with great talent thought that even the best artists in the world, that their methods and ways could be taught, and it honestly gave me hope for my future art endeavors, knowing that there was the possibility that I could get better, I could learn new skills, and that every single person, even the best artists, always have room to improve.
No matter what, I think every artist is always trying to improve, because for me at least, that's the whole point of art, is it's just it's obviously it brings me a lot of joy to do it, but I constantly want to improve, and I do that through looking at my stuff that I've created and critiquing it, and then also talking about it with people and looking at other people's art. And
after getting a better understanding of the way that artists think, the next step in my process was to do my research and integrate art into my everyday life. Through going to museums, taking art lessons, and practicing art in my own time, the best way that I bettered my art skills was through making art a priority in my life. Next up, you're going to watch Noelle and I practice some painting. Now, this was very interesting and kind of difficult for me, but it was a very awesome experience. So we began in our painting process, and I think one of the best parts about being taught to paint by somebody who actually knows how to paint rather than going into it not knowing what I was doing was that I was able to break it down step by step, and it made the process feel a lot less daunting and a lot more approachable. In my own experience, one of the hardest parts about painting, drawing, anything was that I didn't know where to start. So having somebody there with me, teaching me, going through it step by step with me and telling me that mistakes were okay, mistakes are normal, and that every mistake that I made could be fixed made the process a lot more fun and easy. After receiving a better understanding of the painting process, I wanted to make sure to prioritize spending time on my own, painting, getting to learn more about the problems and the issues that I have to solve on my own, not having somebody there to hold my hand the entire time, but also being able to understand and realize the very therapeutic benefits that painting has and why so many artists love their art form for that exact reason. Lastly, I decided to immerse myself in the culture of art and artists by going to multiple museums. I went to the Foothills Art Museum, which is local and has a lot of local artists. At the Foothills Art Museum, I saw an exhibit which was featuring a lot of Jeffco students and Jeffco art teachers' work, which was very cool to see a wide display of different artwork from all ages. And I also went to the Denver Art Museum, where I got to see some Monets and some very famous paintings. Having that contrast of getting to see even like sixth graders' work versus, Monet was very eye-opening, and it really gave me a good understanding of how art looks so different for every person, and that art has different meaning for every person, and art doesn't always look the same for each person. However, art has so much significance to the artist. One observation that I made at the Foothills Art Museum was in a lot of the little blurbs from many of the artists talking about how art was so crucial for just kind of their survival through COVID and through quarantine, and how important that was to them. From talking to my peers about what art means to them, to talking to local artists, and also practicing art in my free time, I was truly able to immerse myself in the artistic world, get a better understanding and appreciation for the time and effort that goes into practicing art, and also understand why so many people go to art and artistic creative outlets in order to reduce stress and improve happiness, all of those things. Lastly, I found it important to compare my findings to the overall opinions of students like me and just kind of my peers. So through my research and through some of the polls that I conducted, I found that 76% of high schoolers do make art occasionally or very often, and that 90% of kids have something that they would consider a creative outlet. This is something that was kind of a big surprise to me, things ranging all the way from engineering to music, drawing, journaling, welding, athletics. I thought that it was very cool to find out that so many people had a creative outlet when I didn't think that many kids my age had creative outlets. I think this is especially important for kids my age because studies have shown that creating art can even help with mood and eating disorders. It helps to bring blood flow to the brain, and it can also even help to lower cortisol levels. Lastly, 72% of kids said that making art makes them less anxious, which I thought was very important and a really cool thing to add on. Thanks so much for going on this journey with me. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you can start to make art a priority in your life.